Talk Ava. Learn English with confidence.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Ava. I'm Dave.
And I'm Ava. If you're new here, welcome. This is the place where you can practice real English through simple and natural conversations.
And before we begin, if you want to improve your English step by step with us, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who is also learning English.
It really helps us grow, especially since this channel is just getting started.
All right, Ava, you sounded a bit frustrated earlier. What's going on?
I am honestly tired of this. I keep confusing to and for, and it is starting to affect how I speak.
That sounds frustrating. What usually happens when you try to use them?
I will be speaking normally, and then suddenly I stop in the middle of a sentence because I'm not sure which one is correct.
So you lose your flow while speaking?
Exactly. And then I either guess or I change the whole sentence to avoid the problem.
That means you are not speaking freely.
Yes, and it's worse when I'm talking to someone in real time. I feel like I sound unsure.
Can you give me an example of something you said recently?
Yes. Yesterday I said, I made this to you, and as soon as I said it, I knew something was wrong.
That does not sound natural.
And the problem is, I knew it was wrong, but I did not know how to fix it.
That is the worst feeling. You know there's a mistake, but you cannot explain it.
Exactly. It feels like I'm just guessing every time I speak.
Like a 50-50 chance.
Yes, sometimes I am correct, and sometimes I am not, but I don't feel confident either way.
That means the problem is not just grammar, it's confidence.
Yes, I want to speak without stopping and without doubting every sentence.
That's exactly what we're going to fix today.
I hope so, because this confusion is really slowing me down.
By the end of this episode, you will not guess anymore. You will understand why you use to and for.
That is exactly what I need. I want to feel in control when I speak.
So let's slow this down and really fix it, because what you described is not just your problem. This is something almost every English learner goes through at some point, especially with small words like to and for that seem simple but are actually very tricky in real conversations.
Yes, that is exactly how it feels. They look easy when you read them, but when you speak, everything becomes confusing and uncertain.
And that is why today is important. By the end of this episode, you're not just going to memorize a few sentences, you are going to understand the logic behind these words so you can use them naturally without stopping every time you speak.
That is what I want. I do not want to think too much while speaking. I just want it to feel natural.
Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about your answer. When you're speaking English in real life, do you feel confident using to and for? Or do you usually pause, hesitate, and guess which one sounds right? Write your answer in the comments and be honest about it. Even if your answer is, I always guess, that's perfectly fine. The important thing is that you are aware of it.
Yes, because once you notice the problem clearly, it becomes much easier to fix.
Exactly. And today, we're going to remove that guessing completely and replace it with clear understanding. Now, let's start with a simple test so we can see the problem clearly.
Okay, I'm ready. I want to see where I am making mistakes.
Try to say this sentence naturally, the way you would normally say it. I bought this gift to you.
I bought this gift to you. It feels a little strange when I say it out loud, but I know I have said this before in real conversations.
And that is exactly what happens to many learners. The sentence feels slightly off, but it's not always obvious why.
Yes, I can feel something is wrong, but I cannot explain the reason clearly.
The correct sentence is, I bought this gift for you. And by the end of this episode, you will understand not just the correction, but the reason behind it.
That is what I need. I do not want to just memorize the correct version. I want to understand it so I can use it confidently.
Let's take a moment and really understand why this mistake happens, because if we fix the reason behind the mistake, everything becomes easier.
Yes, I feel like I keep repeating the same mistake, but I never really understood why I make it.
That is very common. Most learners are not making random mistakes. There is always a reason behind it, and usually that reason comes from how you think about the sentence.
That makes sense, because when I said, I bought this gift to you, it felt logical in my head.
Exactly. Tell me what you were thinking in that moment.
I was thinking about the person first. I was thinking about you receiving the gift, so I connected the gift to you and used to.
That is a very natural way to think, and that is why so many learners make this mistake. Your logic is not wrong, but it does not match how English works.
So my thinking is correct, but my expression is not correct in English.
That is a perfect way to say it. You are focusing on the relationship between the object and the person, but English is focusing on something slightly different.
And that small difference is what creates confusion.
Yes, because when you do not understand the logic, every sentence feels like a guess.
That is exactly how I feel. I just choose one and hope it sounds right.
And sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not, which makes it even more confusing.
Yes, because I cannot see a clear pattern.
So today, instead of memorizing rules, we are going to build a very simple idea that you can use in any situation.
That already sounds better than memorizing long grammar rules.
Let's start with the word to, and we are going to give it a very clear meaning that you can imagine in your mind.
I like that approach. It makes things easier to remember.
Think of to as direction, not just a word, but a movement from one place to another.
Direction. So something is moving toward a target.
Exactly. There is always a starting point and an ending point.
So it's like something travels from me to another person or place.
Yes, that is the key idea. Something moves and there is a clear destination.
That already feels clearer than just thinking of it as a small word.
Let's test it with a simple sentence. I gave the book to my friend.
The book moves from you to your friend.
Exactly. The movement is the important part.
So to shows where the book is going.
Perfect. Now try another one. I sent a message to my manager.
The message moves from my phone to my manager.
Yes, and again we see direction and destination.
This is actually very logical when you think about it this way.
Now let's make it slightly more interesting. What about this sentence? I talked to my colleague.
There's no physical object here, but my voice is moving toward my colleague.
Exactly. Even if you cannot see it, there is still a direction.
So my voice or my message travels to the other person.
Yes, and that is why we use to.
This is starting to connect now. It's not just about objects, it's also about communication.
Exactly. Now try this one. I wrote an email to my teacher.
The email moves from me to my teacher.
Perfect. You are seeing the pattern clearly. Now let's look at negative sentences because many learners get confused here.
Yes, I often feel unsure when the sentence is negative.
Try this. I did not send the email to him.
Even though I didn't send it, he's still the target.
Exactly. The direction is still there, even if the action didn't happen.
So to doesn't change just because the sentence is negative.
Correct. The logic stays the same. Let's try another one. I did not give the keys to Sarah.
Sarah is still the destination even though the keys didn't reach her.
Exactly. The direction is still part of the meaning.
That is actually very helpful because I used to think negative sentences change everything.
But they don't. The structure stays the same. Now let's pause for a second and check your understanding.
Okay.
What is the main idea of to?
It shows direction. Something moves from one place to another.
And what is important in that movement?
The destination or the target.
Perfect. Now, let's look at some common verbs that almost always use to, so you can recognize them quickly.
That will help a lot in real conversations.
First verb, give.
I gave the keys to my friend.
Good. Next, send.
I sent a message to my boss.
Perfect. Next, tell.
I told the story to my sister.
Excellent. What about explain?
I explained the problem to my teacher.
Very good. And what about show?
I showed the picture to my friend.
Perfect. Do you see the pattern?
Yes, all these verbs involve something moving from me to another person.
Exactly. That is why they naturally use to. Now, let's try to make it a bit more natural with a small situation.
Okay.
Imagine you are at work and you need to send a report.
All right.
How would you say it?
I sent the report to my manager this morning.
Perfect. Why did you use to?
Because the report moves from me to my manager.
Exactly. Now, imagine you were talking to a friend.
Okay.
What would you say?
I talked to my friend about the project.
Good. And again, why to?
Because my words go toward my friend.
Perfect. Now let's go back to your original mistake.
Yes, I want to understand that clearly.
You said, I bought this gift to you.
Yes.
Now think about it using this logic. Is there movement from you to me in that moment?
No, I am just talking about the reason for buying the gift.
Exactly. There is no direction or movement happening in that sentence.
So using to does not match the meaning.
Correct. That is why it sounds unnatural. So what did we learn from all of this?
To is used when something moves toward a target, either physically or through communication.
Perfect. And that includes objects, messages, and even words.
Yes, and the most important thing is the direction.
Exactly. Once you see the direction, you know to is the right choice. Now that you feel more comfortable with to, we're ready to move to the next part.
Which is for, right?
Yes, and this is where everything becomes even clearer because we will compare both directly.
I'm ready. I already feel more confident than before.
Now that we're clear about to, let's move to the second part, which is for, and this is where many learners feel confused at first.
Yes, because sometimes both words feel possible, and I'm not sure which one to choose.
That is true, but once you understand the idea behind for, it becomes much easier to decide.
All right, I'm ready. What is the main idea of for?
Think of for as purpose or benefit. It answers the question, why something is done.
So instead of movement, we are now focusing on the reason behind an action.
Exactly. There is no direction here. Instead, we are asking who benefits or why the action happens.
That already feels different from to.
Let's go back to your original mistake.
Yes, I want to understand that clearly.
You said, I bought this gift to you.
Yes.
Now think about it using this logic. Is there movement from you to me in that moment?
No, I am just talking about the reason for buying the gift.
Exactly. There is no direction or movement happening in that sentence.
So using to does not match the meaning.
Correct. That is why it sounds unnatural. So what did we learn from all of this?
To is used when something moves toward a target, either physically or through communication.
Perfect. And that includes objects, messages, and even words.
Yes, and the most important thing is the direction.
Exactly. Once you see the direction, you know to is the right choice. Now that you feel more comfortable with to, we're ready to move to the next part.
Which is for, right?
Yes, and this is where everything becomes even clearer because we will compare both directly.
I'm ready. I already feel more confident than before.
Now that we're clear about to, let's move to the second part, which is for, and this is where many learners feel confused at first.
Yes, because sometimes both words feel possible, and I'm not sure which one to choose.
That is true, but once you understand the idea behind for, it becomes much easier to decide.
All right, I'm ready. What is the main idea of for?
Think of for as purpose or benefit. It answers the question, why something is done.
So instead of movement, we are now focusing on the reason behind an action.
Exactly. There is no direction here. Instead, we are asking who benefits or why the action happens.
That already feels different from to.
Let's go back to your original mistake.
Yes, I want to understand that clearly.
You said, I bought this gift to you.
Yes.
Now think about it using this logic. Is there movement from you to me in that moment?
So it is not about the gift moving, it is about why you bought it.
Yes, and that is why for is the correct choice here. Let's try another example. I made dinner for my family.
The family is the reason for making dinner.
Exactly. They benefit from the action.
So the focus is not on movement, but on who receives the benefit.
Perfect. Now try this one. I opened the door for my neighbor.
I did it to help my neighbor.
Exactly. That is the purpose.
So again, it is about intention and benefit.
Yes, and that is the core idea of for. Let's build this idea more clearly. When you use for, you're answering the question, why did I do this?
That is a very useful way to think.
For example, I cleaned the room for my guests.
Why did you clean the room? Because of the guests.
Exactly. Now let's try a slightly different example. This gift is for you.
That means the gift is intended for me.
Yes, you are the purpose behind the gift.
Again, no movement, just intention.
Exactly. Now let's look at negative sentences with for, because the logic stays the same.
Okay, I want to understand this clearly.
Try this. I did not buy this for you.
That means you were not the reason for buying it.
Exactly. Even though the answer is negative, the focus is still on the reason.
So for still answers the question, why?
Correct. Let's try another one. I did not cook dinner for them.
That means they were not the reason for cooking.
Exactly. Maybe you cooked for yourself or for someone else.
So even in negative sentences, the logic does not change.
Yes, the structure stays the same. Now let's compare to and for directly to make everything even clearer.
Yes, this is the part I really need.
Look at this sentence. I gave the book to her.
The book moves to her.
Exactly. Now look at this. I bought the book for her.
She is the reason I bought the book.
Perfect. Same object, different meaning.
So to is about movement and for is about purpose.
Exactly. Let's try another pair. I sent a message to him.
The message moves to him.
Good. Now I wrote a message for him.
I wrote it because of him or to help him.
Exactly. The focus changes completely. Now let's talk about common mistakes, because this is where learners usually struggle.
Yes, I want to fix these clearly.
First mistake. I gave this for you.
That sounds wrong now.
Yes, because give involves movement.
So we need to.
Correct. I gave this to you. Next mistake. I made this to you.
That also sounds wrong.
Yes, because make is about creating something for a reason.
So the correct version is I made this for you.
Exactly. Next mistake, I sent this for you.
That sounds strange too.
Yes, because send involves movement.
So we say I sent this to you.
Correct. Now let's slow down and understand why these mistakes happen.
Yes, I want to understand the pattern.
Learners often focus only on the person in the sentence and ignore the action.
So they think about the person first, not the verb.
Exactly. But the verb is very important because it tells you whether you need movement or purpose.
So I should always look at the verb first.
Yes. Ask yourself, is this action about sending something or is it about doing something for someone?
That is a very helpful question.
Let's try a few more corrections to make this stronger.
Okay,
I explained this for him.
that sounds wrong.
Yes. What is the correct version?
I explained this to him.
Perfect, because explanation moves from you to him. I built this to my friend.
That sounds wrong too.
What is the correct version?
I built this for my friend.
Exactly, because your friend is the reason for building it. I wrote this to my sister.
That can be correct if I am sending it to her.
Good. Now change the meaning.
I wrote this for my sister.
And what does that mean?
I wrote it because of her or to help her.
Perfect. You see how meaning changes? Now let's summarize this part clearly.
Yes, I want to say it in my own words.
Go ahead.
To is used when something moves toward a person or place.
Good.
For is used when someone is the reason or benefit of the action.
Perfect. And what is the most important thing to remember?
Look at the verb and ask whether it shows movement or purpose.
Exactly. Now you're no longer guessing, you're thinking logically.
Yes, and it feels much easier than before.
That is the goal. Once the logic is clear, the language becomes natural.
I can already feel the difference when I think about sentences now.
Good. That means you're ready for the next part where things become even more interesting.
I am ready. Let's continue.
Now we are moving into one of the most important parts of this lesson, because this is where many learners get confused again.
I was just starting to feel confident, so I hope this part does not confuse me too much.
It will not confuse you. It will actually make everything clearer, because now we will look at situations where both to and for are possible, but the meaning changes.
So both are correct, but they say different things.
Exactly. This is where you move from basic understanding to real control of the language. Let's start with a simple pair. I brought a book to you.
That means the book moved from you to me.
Correct. Now listen to this. I brought a book for you.
That means I am the reason you brought the book.
Exactly. You see the difference?
Yes. One is about movement and the other is about intention.
Perfect. Let's try another one. I sent a package to my friend.
The package moves to your friend.
Good. Now, I prepared a package for my friend.
That means your friend is the reason you prepared it.
Exactly. Again, movement versus purpose. Now, let's make it slightly more subtle. I wrote a report to my manager.
That sounds a bit unusual.
Yes, it is not the most natural sentence, but if you say, I wrote a report for my manager, it sounds natural.
Because the manager is the reason for writing the report.
Exactly. So sometimes only one option sounds natural, even if both seem possible. Let's try something more common. I gave a gift to her.
The gift moves to her.
Good. Now, I chose a gift for her.
She is the reason you chose the gift.
Exactly. So even with similar ideas, the verb changes the meaning. Now, let's slow down and reflect.
Okay.
When both to and for are possible, what should you focus on?
The meaning I want to express.
Exactly. You choose based on your intention, not just the structure.
That makes it feel more flexible and natural.
Now, let's move into a real-life conversation so you can see how this works in a natural situation.
That will help a lot.
Imagine we are at work, and we are talking about our tasks.
Okay.
Ava, did you send the documents to the client this morning?
Yes, I sent the documents to the client about an hour ago. Everything was ready, so I shared it as soon as possible.
That is great. And did you prepare the presentation for the meeting as well?
Yes, I prepared the presentation for the team, and I also added some extra details to make it clearer.
That sounds helpful. The team will appreciate that.
I hope so. I tried to make it easy to understand for everyone.
Good thinking. Oh, by the way, I brought something for you.
For me? What is it?
I picked up a notebook for you because I remember you said you needed one.
That is very thoughtful. Thank you. Can you give it to me?
Yes, here you go. I'm giving it to you now.
That felt very natural. I used for the reason and to for the movement.
Exactly. You did not have to stop and think.
Yes, it just came naturally.
That is the goal. When you understand the logic, you don't need to guess anymore.
I can feel the difference. Before, I would stop and think, but now it feels smoother.
And that's how real fluency develops. Now let's summarize everything clearly so it stays in your mind.
Yes, I want to repeat it in a simple way.
Tell me, what is the main idea of to?
To shows direction. It is used when something moves toward a person or place.
Good. And what is important in that movement?
The destination or the target.
Perfect. Now, what about for?
For shows purpose or benefit. It answers the question why something is done.
Exactly. So, how do you choose between them?
I look at the verb and the meaning. If there is movement, I use to. If there is a reason or benefit, I use for.
Perfect. That is the complete logic. And what is the biggest mistake learners make?
They focus only on the person and forget to think about the action.
Exactly. The verb tells you everything. Now I want you to think about how you felt at the beginning of this episode.
I felt confused and unsure. I was stopping in the middle of sentences.
And how do you feel now?
I feel much more confident. I understand the difference, and I know how to choose the correct word.
That's a big improvement.
Yes, and it feels more natural, not forced.
That is exactly what we want for all our listeners as well.
Yes, because learning English should feel clear and practical.
Now, before we finish, we have a small challenge for you.
Yes, this is where you practice what you learned.
Go to the comments and write 2 simple sentences.
One sentence using to and one sentence using for.
Try to think about the logic when you write them.
Focus on direction for 2 and purpose for 4.
This will help you remember the difference much better. And if this lesson helped you understand something new today, please support the channel.
Like this video, subscribe to Talk Ava, and share it with someone who is learning English.
We are building this channel step by step, and your support really matters.
Yes, and we're here to help you speak English with confidence.
Keep practicing a little every day, and do not be afraid to make mistakes.
Because mistakes are part of learning, but understanding helps you improve faster.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
See you next time.